Hi, fam. Welcome back. This is Benita G. This is the Education Concierge. We are ending and rounding out season 3, but I am going to bring you some more amazing guests. Today, I have with me Mr. Townsend. And y'all know if I say Mr. Townsend, you know I'm still working on pronouncing people's first names. So once he says it, I will come back behind him and pronounce it correctly because you know I have a huge issue with people mispronouncing names. I want to let you know why he's here. He is the CEO and founder of Broadcasting Career Mentor. And I know you're like, girl, what is that? Don't worry. We're going to do what we always do and explain it to you. But I want to say this, you know, here at the Education Concierge podcast, we talk about the different layers of education and how we can dismantle things, how we can uproot things, how we can reassemble, how we can reimagine. So Mr. Townsend, he is a person that I have been watching on LinkedIn. I've kind of been semi-stalking him, not like in a bad way, like not going after his family or anything, but just watching what he's doing for education, especially as we are now still in the pandemic, but we're coming out. But we now understand that our students can learn in a different way. And as the educators that we are, as the professionals that we are, we need to open our minds. We need to look at the layers and we need to readjust how we are teaching our scholars. And then he comes in and he helps you. And we're all about helping each other. We're all about making sure that we are doing the best thing for our students, especially our Black and brown scholars. So without further ado, please, Mr. Townsend, introduce yourself, pronounce your first name for me and tell me why you're here. What do you do?
Thank you so much for having me. So it's just Clement Townsend, and I am a former journalist. I spent 17 years on television, and now I am a media consultant in an education capacity. I help schools and teachers show their students how to create videos. And some people might say, well, students already know how to create videos. Some do, but unfortunately, there are a lot of consumers and not necessarily creators. So making sure that all students can participate and they're not just creating TikTok videos or just prank videos for YouTube, but they know how to create videos that inform, inspire, and impact. So I really help teachers meet students where they are to create videos and do it for an educational purpose.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain to you some reasons why. Number 1, it's free. Come on now. Who does not love free? Number 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Who doesn't love easy? Number 3, Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you. It can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more podcast theaters. So you're going to give it to me for free. I can make a podcast from my phone or my computer anywhere, and you're going to distribute it for free. This is amazing. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Oh, wait, there's a little bit more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. This is simple, easy, accessible. This is how I podcast.
I love it. I mean, I'm glad you said that because I think one of the things that we always forget, or if you're not in the trenches or in education every day, we're like, oh, the kids do that. They know technology. No, they know their phones. They don't necessarily know how to function or navigate a computer. And I'm glad you said, yes, they do know how to do videos, but we're going past that. We're going past TikTok. We're going past Reels. I love me Instagram Reels. We're going past YouTube. How do you, and let me make sure I have this right, inform, inspire, and impact? That is powerful to me. So how do you do that? I call you and I say, hey, I've been in the game for 23 years, but I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to, my kids hate it when I say that, I'm trying to stay hip. And they're like, what does that even mean? But be quiet. I want to to be able to not only as the teacher make the videos because I need some help, but I also want my students to produce videos for our school, for their projects, to get into college, to get into summer programs. So where would I start, or how would you start helping me?
So that's exactly it. In terms of students showing mastery or students presenting what they have learned, enabling or enacting projects for students. So it's not just doing worksheets anymore. It's not just actually, doing a pen and paper. If it's English class and we're trying to get them to do some type of writing activity, how can we now have student choice where whatever the unit is, instead of them just writing a paper about Kamala Harris and civics education, let's now do a video on that sort of thing. The same principles apply in terms of you have to do research and you have to write, but certainly with me having a journalism background, there's also a narration piece, a voicing piece, which lends itself to developing those public speaking skills. And so many adults still don't speak well. And I think communication skills, as we know, is something that everybody can use, no matter whether we're in person or virtual, like whether we're communicating through Zoom or face-to-face, communication skills are so important. I mean, you mentioned college. There are some colleges who are now asking students to submit videos about themselves, in lieu of or in addition to an essay. So just interjecting those projects, whether it's English, it could be history. And if you're talking about different laws that came down, maybe a video on Brown versus Board of Education, or what Supreme Court laws impact you, and they, now do the research and do the writing. And obviously it's a technology component with the editing as well. And it could work for science if you're doing physics and molecular structures, it can work. It crosses a lot of content areas. And I just think, again, it's not just the teacher giving material, but it's the student participating in the learning process. And I believe when students create videos, they retain information a lot more because we're all visual creatures, so to speak.
I'm sitting here and you said, I was like, oh, cross curriculum, I'm about to go. I'm having a meeting with the social studies crew, the math crew. What can PE do? Like, what are we doing? Like my clientele, my community of Black and brown students. And we just had a conversation on Monday about fitness and exercise and therapists and, what is diabetes?
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about it. And then I was sitting there and I was like, well, maybe, I said, do y'all want, do we want to start a walking club? Do y'all want to start biking? And they looked at me like, what? And I was like, do we need to do a video for therapy? Would y'all watch it? And when you said that, I was like, yeah, because they are used to videos. But why can't you make your own video? And then you said another aspect where I'm excited, because when we give kids the opportunity to see all aspects of what's happening, they may hone in on their specialty. And you said editing. And I'm just that part. I was like, yeah, I said, because I know some students who were very logistic. And I could see them going in there going, look, we need to put here, we need to do it here. And then who are those people? They end up running the I call it the backstage for ESPN, or running the backstage for CNN, or last night I was watching the whole HBCU sports channel that I didn't even know existed. And I was like, where did that come from? So I definitely can see that breaking down some barriers.
Yes.
Where in education, we need to go back to when we were doing cross-curricular all the time and exposing our scholars to the different aspects, not only doing that project, but even if they're doing a group project, when they run the credits, it may say so-and-so was the cameraman and so-and-so wrote the script, exactly what you said, so everybody has their part. And then as the teacher, I'm able to grade accordingly, because you're giving me back the skills, the objectives. Like you were talking and I'm going through the objectives in my head for FSA, for FCAT. And I'm like, oh, that covered 6 objectives.
and I don't know if that's correlated to standards. I don't know if objectives and standards are the same thing, but certainly, whether you're in Florida, I believe, or I'm in Chicago, a lot of teachers want to know, well, it's videos, but what are my standards? And as you mentioned, it does hit objectives. But I do want to speak on something that you brought up too about this editing piece. We live in a society now where video is just so integral in everything we do. With the pandemic, a Zoom if you work with students, the students that I work with, I mean, I think if you ask them, I have a daughter, they watch YouTube almost every single day. Like for middle schoolers, maybe even high schoolers, like YouTube is their television. So we live in a video society, YouTube, Facebook Live, TikTok, Snapchat. So meeting students where they are, it is so important for them to be able to now create, to participate. And since we watch so much video, that lends itself to so many employment opportunities in editing. So when you brought that up, you know, it just has so many benefits. And I don't know if students are always aware of, as long as we're watching video, somebody has to edit that video, and editors get paid very well. So I don't always hit on that because a lot of teachers are about objectives. But if it's about, you know, preparing them for the future and helping them succeed and have an employment and things of that nature, I mean, editing is it. Editing is it for sure.
But editing, I also teach writing. So for me, editing and writing, they go hand in hand. We need to go back, chop that, say it a different way, bring it back. And then when I get to that video, I'm like, oh, chop that, move this section to the front, to the introduction. So all of that editing, it all goes hand in hand. So yeah, we could definitely make that work into the objective, work it into the subject. That would definitely work. Look, I already know we're going to swing this right on over here, and we're going to massage it into where we need it to be. So that leads us into the next question. And it says, I'm listening to you. One, thank you for your enthusiasm. Like you can feel it oozing out of the microphone.
I love this.
If y'all do not, we're going to give you the social media, but if you do not follow him on LinkedIn, you definitely need to. I saw today, a teacher posted today how much it's helping her class, how she's using it, incorporating it. But then my question is, how do you feel that you're building, and your company, your business is building, the bridge for all stakeholders in education? Like how, because you know, a lot of times we disrupt stuff or we throw stuff away, but we don't build a bridge. And everybody's like, oh, the educational gap. We've known the educational gap has been there since you integrated. Let's go there. And we know
Absolutely.
it's there. How can we use media as the bridge? And we spoke about it a little bit, but like go into detail, even if you want to do one or two topics, to bridge that gap from and all stakeholders, students, parents, educators, administrators. How do we do that?
So for me, number one, it's about access. I love that you've already talked about the Black and Brown community. I feel like a lot of times our community doesn't even give students opportunities such as I'm describing with videos and media. There are some schools that have bigger budgets and they're able to do more things. For many years, they've had media production or TV production, and they might do a student-run news show or things of that nature. But again, I'm from Chicago. I've worked in television in Texas, Alabama, Virginia, and now Chicago. And I still connect with a lot of people in those areas. And people that I talk to, those schools, those children are not exposed in school to media production. So when we talk about bridging the gap, for me, it's about access. And, you know, I do have a program, and the thing that I say a lot of times, just to get started, a school doesn't need a huge budget. So nowadays with technology and a cell phone, you can film things on a cell phone, or you can edit on a cell phone, or they have programs that are available for schools where schools can get these programs and start to edit without having to buy $1,000 cameras, without having a space for a set, teleprompter lights. So for me, it's about access. And that's how bringing this video into the classroom, to me, can bridge the gap. And then the second part of that is, to me, is I think it really strengthens or helps to strengthen the community, because videos and the day and age in which we live, it has a shareability factor. And I don't even know if that's the right word, but as much as we've talked about doing a paper or doing a science project, but so many things are happening in the school that people probably never see. I really feel like the day and age in which we live, every school should have its own media department, so to speak, in terms of whether it's students videoing the spelling bee in a regular world, or the science fair, or the Black History Fair, or the Christmas fair, or just students, you know, doing a project on public figures or zoology or the environment. But now if it's video, it can go on a school website. It could go on the school YouTube page. Parents are more likely to watch it. Maybe they share it with their relatives. Alumni can see it. So when we talk about, I guess, access and bridging the gap, now it's strengthening our community because everybody can kind of see some of the positive things that are going on. That I see some educators, administrators taking pictures and sharing pictures, but I'm just a journalist and a TV guy. Like, to me, you just can't replace video to actually see what's going on with visuals, moving pictures, or potentially doing interviews. If that part is available, I mean, you just can't replace that, in my opinion.
So I am a photographer in my other life,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I totally agree. And I was sitting here thinking, no longer can the parent or the guardian or the adult say, well, what did you do in school today? And they go, nothing. And we just sat there, because now they can go on the Instagram, now they can go on the Twitter, now they can go on the school's YouTube, and they can say, okay, this is what we've been doing this week in science. We blew up this, and then we talked about a chemical compound. It's like everything you just said, because now it's access. And I love it. I wrote it down: access, opportunities, community, and shareability. And being an English teacher, I don't have time to Google it. It sounded like a good word. We're going to move with it.
I think you understand what I mean. It has that share factor, so to speak.
Yes, I love shareability, because I think that's important. And for me, my parents speak several different languages: Creole, French, Spanish, and it's sometimes different types of Spanish. It may be their tribal Spanish, and then the Spanish that we may know across the board. And so even with that, putting on that closed caption,
for sure,
and changing it, and they're able to hear and understand what's going on. I do videos for my parents using a app that I use in class that I'm an ambassador for, and my parents appreciate it. I think the school board just released something about them understanding testing and how we're going to do things moving forward. And I just did like a video recording on my phone so my parents can have access to it. And the parents were like, oh my gosh, thank you, because we didn't really understand. And I said, oh, they broke it down for us again, because I didn't understand either. And I was like, here we go. So I love that access and shareability. And I do want to say, I'm a Virginia girl. Shout out to they have closed it down, but shout out to Huntington Middle School in Newport News, because I remember News Channel 8, I think, or 10 in Newport News, Virginia, where they were redoing their set.
Right.
And someone knew somebody who knew someone. And they came and delivered their old set to our school for our media production team.
Okay, so you were fortunate enough to have that in elementary school.
In the middle school.
Middle school.
Right. And I was a teacher there, and I wasn't part of it, but right. I remember it was a big deal to us. Our students did the news every morning. Wow. And when you would have thought we were the news channel for real, because we were celebrating. Look at our new set. They like did a whole thing. And I remember that. And that was like 2001.
So like 20 years ago, but it's still a lot of schools that do not have that sort of thing. And here we are 20 years later. So my whole thing is, and I'm sure you agree, like technology and society has evolved so much. And just for our children to keep up and succeed and thrive the way we teach them. I know a lot of people talk about curriculum and all that sort of thing. I'm not necessarily trying to change curriculum, but how it's delivered, how it's presented to students, and students actually, participating in creation. I guess what they submit and how they learn what we teach, I think is one of my main emphasis.
So let me be clear. I am trying to change curriculum. We need to change it, but I love what you said. We need to change it, and it needs to evolve just as our society has. And one of the things a group of us educators talking about education the other day, we were like, we seem to be the only profession behind the 8 ball, but we're preparing the students to strike as soon as they get out, but we're behind. And we're doing a disservice to our country, our students, our parents, our community. If we're behind the 8 ball, but you're expecting them to come out ready to strike. And I was like, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't equate like that. But you said something, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna come back to it because it's gonna come back to me.
Absolutely.
That I thought, I was like, this is amazing. I love this. Oh, I know what it was. The last thing I wanted to say was, now is the time, because we've been home.
For sure.
And educators, we have learned how to take our bedroom and slide the bed over and make us make some space and put an IKEA desk in there. Or we went on YouTube and figured out how to get the plywood and we call them the horses, and put the plywood on the horses, and you made a desk, and you put the green tablecloth up from Dollar General or wherever, and you made a green background. So we now know how to do this without spending a lot of money. We know how to now have our own media department. And I can say the school that I'm at now, our administrators are now modeling what they want. So for next year, they're going to get the crew of students together.
Okay.
And so I even said, you know what, I think I have some grant money. We're going to get the little clip-on mics so we can have the audio much better. Like, we're ready. They have the screen set up. And so the students are seeing it. Every Monday we do these Monday announcements, and they're seeing it, and they're all excited. You know, middle school, they act like they're not, but they are.
For sure.
And I see it moving, but I just need us to move. Like you said, we need to evolve a little faster because we're still behind.
Do you see that among your group and people that you connect with? Is that common, what you just described? Do you think that's common among educators in terms of schools starting to adopt that?
Yes, and I think the pandemic was the break.
Okay.
Because it's like, it goes back to what you said, the share factor, where now we know our kids, all of our kids are not 100% back. We are not 100% back school. We are still a dual modality. Some of my classes are physical only. Some of my classes are online only. How are we getting the information to the ones online and to the parents?
For sure.
Well, they started doing these videos.
Okay.
I started doing videos, sending it to my parents, going over the assignments. I started doing little Zooms and using Loom to do videos and say, hey guys, this is what it looks like. Hey parents, this is what I'm talking about, where you should go, where you should click. So we were making it accessible. So now we understand that the PTA meeting, if we do it at 7 o'clock, we record it.
Right.
Because mommy can listen to it on her way to her second shift, or she can listen to it while she's cooking dinner at 10 o'clock, or daddy can listen to it while he's commuting to work the next day, and he can see what's happening. He knows what's happening, and he's going to be able to be active and involved. So that media shift is happening because the pandemic pushed us into it. And I still think we would have been slow doing it, but that pandemic said, hey, you know, we're doing, my little cousin, my niece is in Texas, and the other day her mom sent us the link for honor roll.
Okay.
So now we would have never been able to see that before the pandemic. Right. So now we can watch her, celebrate her, see her, get her little honor roll, because they are in school, but it's, you know, still social distance. It was really nice. Represent, congratulate, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 10 minutes, it's done.
That's it.
Because I don't know those other kids. I don't know them, but that was special to us. Sure. And it was great for her mom to be able to share with the family because we're all spread out. And I think the answer to your question is coming. Okay. And a lot of us are this summer, you'll see it happening. You'll see more people trying to get grants. You'll see more people on Donors Choose saying, hey, we need some money. You can do it under $500. For sure. You do it under 300. Let's be real.
And the next step in that is the students actually creating. So certainly in your example, they filmed the honor ceremony and you saw for your niece, but now your niece creating content, doing videos as a part of her, I guess, classroom work that now the mom can share. Look, actually what my niece did video that shares out, and that becoming more common in classrooms. That is what certainly I'm excited about and hope that starts to pick up and take off.
I can see it happening because I think once we expose the students to say, hey, this is a job, they're like, what? Where? How much, Miss Gore? Oh, that's how much they make. I'm like, they make more than I do. And I remember I just did that with, I showed them, I said, hey, they're looking for a podcast manager.
Okay.
And I'm introducing podcasts this week and this month, and poetry and podcasts. And they're like, what? And I was like, the things y'all hear me playing when you come into class and it's about money or shopping or whatever, I don't know. And they go, and then I showed them what they had to do and how much. And they were like, oh. And one of the boys, he was like, I know how to do that. Not all of it, but we're going to get you there.
For
So
sure.
it's one of those things that exposure. I love that. All right. 2 more questions and we're going to wrap up. So question number 1. If you could give us 3 takeaways we could implement today, like when I go back to school tomorrow, what would be 3 things I need to implement right now to say, Mr. Townsend said I need to start doing this to get my students to start being able to produce videos. And don't worry about the curriculum because you know me, we can make it work. What will be 3 things that I need to do? And I'll say next week because tomorrow is like that. We can't do 3 things tomorrow. But what could I do over the next 3 weeks? The 3 things I could implement.
So I would give something practical, really, and I think it has to do with, I guess, potentially a paradigm shift, depending on who's listening to it. And that first thing would be being okay with learning as a teacher along with the students. Because for this to really take off, certainly you may, as a teacher or an educator, whoever's listening, might not know everything about media and editing, but just learning a few things, learning the basics, and then being okay with rolling that out and kind of learning as you go. Certainly, I've been doing it for a few years, and I know there can be a hesitancy because the teacher sometimes, depending on the teacher, wants to make it seem like they know everything about it. They're expert in the English and about bias and grammar or whatever the topic is. So to unveil or teach something that they don't have a complete knowledge of could be a little hesitancy. So that's number 1, being okay with, what, I know a little bit, I'll learn as I go. Students are going to pick up technology a lot of times anyway. So just being okay with that part of it. A practical way to put that into application, I would feel like, is just ask students to potentially do videos at the beginning of a unit and the end of a unit. So if you're doing a unit on, I don't know, bias, I just mentioned, or environmental science or climate change, just have them maybe record a video, if it's a phone or a laptop, and asking them, what do they know at the beginning? So again, that just gets them comfortable in front of the camera, and you get to hear from every single student, get their perspective. And then you can do, again, the same thing at the end, have them record a video at the end saying what they learned. And that, shows where they went from beginning to the end. You hear it from them specifically. And again, it's presenting skills, it's video skills, don't have to do much editing. So those would be 2 that come to mind. The third one, I think, like, teachers are just superheroes. So it's not even about implementing video. For me, to be the best teacher and to serve students and things of that nature is just something practical, so as to just take a day to unplug. Really, that's what I would say. It's not even in terms of what to do, but just hybrid, in person, dealing with parents. Again, I work with schools online and virtual, and if students aren't turning their cameras on, dealing with black circles and students not in the chat and that sort of thing. So I think it's just so important to be the best teacher you can be, and that starts with being the best person you can be. So that has to do with just unplugging. It can be so much information, what's going on in society. Our brain sometimes is overloaded because of the amount of information. So it's not really about the video part with this tip, but I think it's just a reminder, just to sometimes unplug, decompress, and then when the teacher or the person is better, certainly they can be better for their students. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, I did not pay him, nor did we talk about him talking about self-care, but y'all already know.
You're big on that? That's the thing that you...
Huge on self-care, and I love social media. And they know I was like, I'm taking a social media break. I'm taking a podcast break. I'm taking a break. And I'm huge on, if you need to take a break from work, you take a break. You take a day. No, nothing. Everything is gonna be all right.
It'll be there tomorrow.
Right. They will. And if they're not, you call and check on them. Hey, I missed you. But the kids will be okay. And when you come back, they'll be like, where you been? Minding the business that's mine. Because I teach middle school. Don't say that to the elementary kids. I don't know if they're gonna get it. But my middle school and high school kids, they know. They were like, okay, I'm glad you back there. Okay, I'm glad I'm back too. Thank you. I love it. You said start with practical, and it has to be a paradigm shift, which is essential. Essential educators, educational institutions, community stakeholders, everybody that's listening, we have to be able to shift. And you have to be able to relax and release. You don't know it, okay? Just let me, I'm telling you now, you don't know. The kids told me something, the kids literally told me something new today on how to get to Teams. I was taking it, they say, you're going the long way. Oh my gosh. They told me to click 2 things and I was in Teams today years old. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. Like here I am.
And being okay with that. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. And I was like, y'all don't even know how much time you just saved off my life. I appreciate it. So we need to be okay with learning with them.
Yep. Yep.
Making mistakes with them. When our students see us make a mistake and how we handle it, that's modeling real life. Today, I tripped over the plugs. We have plugs everywhere in our room. I promise you, I saw my life flash before me. And I was like, I'm going to knock a tooth out or break my glass. Like I was falling. And I grabbed, the young lady was sitting in the chair, but I grabbed the edge of the chair and she grabbed my arm. And she was like, Miss Gordon, I got you. And I was like, and so she said, you okay? And then we all bust out laughing. That end of the room that saw it.
Right.
I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. And the rest of the room was like, what's going on? And then the girl said, Miss Gordon almost died. And I was like, they were like, if we could have taken a look on your face, like you knew you were falling and
right.
it was nothing out. I was like, I can't. I'm just going to push the button and call security. Like I'm out. But she grabbed me and they made sure I was okay. And then they started laughing.
Sure, for sure.
But it reminded us that we're all human. I'm just as human as they are. I'm older, but I'm just as human as they are. So that's that paradigm shift. Videos at the beginning and the end. So as soon as you said that, English teacher KWL chart is now thrown away. I will never do a regular paper and pencil KWL chart again.
What is that? See, again, I'm not necessarily an educator. I'm a journalist in the education space. What is that?
You probably already do. Y'all just don't call it a KWL. What I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I was like, you already do it. So, and I'm like, okay, so do a video real quick. What do you know? What do you want to know? Okay, at the end, we're going to come back to it. We're going to add it to the video, and then you're going to present all 3 sections because now we have it. Or you can be adding, and then that goes back to editing. Now put it all together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And now we have a presentation at the end.
And that's something super simple. You know, it doesn't take, you don't have to be an editing expert. It won't take 5 hours. You don't have to add any pictures to that sort of thing. Like, you know, I like students to get into advanced concepts. But again, some teachers might just want to have the students dip their toe in the pool. And that's okay, because you talked about some stuff that you can start doing tomorrow. That's something easy right there.
That's it right there. Ooh, I'm just, look. Ooh, especially after testing, we just going to do what I want to do. And then the last one was self-care. Be the best teacher. In order, you cannot pour out of an empty cup.
For sure.
You just can't. We can't. And like the teachers that I mentor here locally and across the US, I say to them all the time, family comes first. If you need to take off a day for your family, if your kid's birthday and they want to go to the jungle, gym, top, golf, beach, then you go. Because they won't be 13 again. They won't be 10 again. And especially they're going into double digits. They won't go into double digits. The next one will be 21. Like they won't do it again. Go ahead and do it because we don't know. Spend time with your kids. Parents, spend time with them. So my teachers already know. I'm gonna be like, you need a day off? You need to? Thank you for letting us know. We'll have everything ready. Bye. So we're gonna end like we always do, the last 2 things. And it says this. As a concierge, normally back in the day, you would go into the hotel, you and your wife celebrating your anniversary or a birthday, you're doing a getaway, and you get there and you say, hey, we would like tickets to a Broadway show. We would like tickets to the Michelin star restaurant, and you walk up to the concierge and he or she makes it happen. So your question is, if you could go anywhere in the world, go to any production, any restaurant, any place, money is no object, and it is pre-COVID. So you ain't even got to worry about all this. No masks, no vaccines, no anything. Where would you go and why?
I've heard your show before, so I had to think about this question a lot because I do like to travel. I've been to quite a few places and lived in several places in the United States, but I want to see like a Jamaica, I want to see like a Costa Rica, that sort of thing. But actually, so my answer would actually be Israel. I have a strong desire to go to Israel. I've heard you say before, you're a country Christian girl, and certainly my faith is a big part of who I am. And I've talked to some people and seen a lot of videos for people who believe in Jesus to go to Israel to actually be in the location where some of the things in the Bible in the New Testament took place. They said it's just so life-changing. When you read the Bible, it's never the same to have been in a place where, okay, this is the Sea of Galilee. This happened right here. And this miracle took place here. To walk that place from what I've heard, and I've seen videos on it, that's on my bucket list. I'm going. It's only a matter of time. I am going, period. I want to take my kids to Disney, and we're going to Israel. So I just can't wait for that, to experience it for myself, because I've had multiple people just tell me how life-changing and how impactful that was for them.
Amazing. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing, for sharing, for your support. I have a new way you can support me. It is literally called buymeacoffee.com/educoncierge. This is a way you can support me one time. You can support me monthly. The proceeds go back into the business, back into the Education Concierge podcast. We're able to deliver the conversation about education to the nation. Well, actually to the world. We're global, y'all. But don't forget, buymeacoffee.com/educoncierge. Talk to you later.
Every time I ask this question, it's so different from everyone. And when you said it, I was like, oh, yes, because that is on my bucket list. My godparent, my godmother, and I've had some aunts and uncles to go, and they've said the same thing. They're like,
Really?
it's just, it's surreal.
Yeah.
And it's exactly like you said, like we read this, we grow up knowing the stories, we know the stories, but to be there, it's like you can feel it. You can feel the presence.
That's what I've heard. That's what I want to experience for myself.
You got to experience it for yourself. So look, anybody out there, we know the world is opening up. We need 2 tickets, 3 tickets, 4 tickets. We're going to do 4. We're going to do this whole family because the babies can travel. We just put them in the thing. Let's go. We need 4 tickets to Israel. So let me know, whoever's ready to sponsor this family. Hit me up and let me know. All right.
I want to give space and opportunity to acknowledge that at the time of this recording, Mr. Townsend stated he wanted to go to Israel if he could go any place once the world were open back up, and or if it was pre-COVID. That has not changed. Many of us who are Christian, many of us who believe in certain religions, Israel is on our list. Many of us who are historians, Israel is on our list. But I do want to acknowledge that at the time of this episode coming out, there is a conflict that has escalated back up in the Middle East between Israeli and Palestine. At the timing of this release, there is now a peace right now. But we know that we're not sure how long it's going to last. We're not sure, what is going to happen moving forward. But one of the things as an educator is I always believe in telling the truth. And in order for us to tell the truth, as educators, we must educate ourselves on understanding what, why, who, how, when, and where. Yes, the 5 W's and that 1 H. When we teach the truth, It is not political. It is not about picking sides. It is about giving our students the knowledge and the understanding so that they can make their own personal choices, and ensuring that we create and produce amazing citizens of America.
So let us know how we can find you on social media so we can connect, we can hire you
For sure.
to come into our schools, come into our classrooms, come do a session. Because I'm sitting here like, maybe I need to do a session with a couple of teachers and get our minds right for next year. Nothing wrong with this year. We're ending it though, but to get prepared for next year and how we can start opening and doing our shift. So how can we find you and connect with you?
So certainly on LinkedIn, as you mentioned before, I'm pretty active, and you can just look up my name, Clement Townsend. On Facebook, I am found at C Townsend TV. And then I would love for educators to go visit the website, www.videojournalismpro.com. So there they'll find a resource that I put together, a free resource. Let me put that out there, a free resource, 10 tips to teach students to create better video content and have a better life. Because I truly believe that with students creating content and project-based learning and things of that nature, it leads to a better life. So I would love for them to go to that website, www.videojournalismpro.com, and check out that free resource. And it's action items that they can use to start getting their students creating video and impacting the world.
So everybody, we'll put that in the show notes. Go grab that. And those of you who are in a project-based learning school, or you are going towards a project-based learning school, I know you've been listening. I know you have been like, yes. Contact, connect, hire. You know how we doing in 21. We're paying people. We're paying people for their services, okay? All right, get your coins together. Go ahead and go to the school. Say, I need this done. We don't need to hire Billy Buka Buka Waka. We don't know them. I know this man right here. He's gonna come in, he's gonna train us and get us ready. And even come in means even if it's via Zoom.
Absolutely.
Let's get it done. And then the last thing, we always close out however you want to close us out. It's just like being in a good old Baptist church. And the guest pastor, don't open up the doors of the church because you might get in trouble, but close us out however you feel led to. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on my podcast and to share and encourage and remind us how media and journalism is essential to our scholars, essential to the world. Let's just be real.
Yes, it's been my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And that leads into what I want to say. I always try to emphasize that media is not just entertainment, it's also educational. So for educators not to pigeonhole media, it's using it to develop the same skills that we know students need. The speaking skills, as I have emphasized, the writing skills, the critical thinking skills in terms of synthesizing information, gathering information, summarizing it, and things of that nature. Just understand that it's educational, and these are like transferable skills that you can use anywhere. It's not just about a student who wants to go into media or journalism like Clement, but it's about a student who might want to be an entrepreneur and have a restaurant. Well, it helps to know how to create videos to show people what type of food that you offer. For our young people who want to open up a hair salon or a barbershop, it helps to show how you cut heads or how you do hairstyles. Or if you want to be in real estate and flip houses, to show your rehabs, or if you have listings, to show your listings. All those things, it helps to have a working knowledge of videos to do those sort of things. So we've talked about how it's cross-curricular, but it also covers so many career areas as well, how that can help. I mean, politics, fashion, food, whatever the case may be. So I would love for them to, contact me, as you mentioned. And again, it's an online course that I have that teachers can use, so they don't have to be hesitant. Like, it takes my expertise, puts it into the classroom, and they now can teach media with confidence and really get their students up to speed and thriving in this 21st century world in which we live in.
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna send this special out to our new teachers that are graduating. You need to go on here and you need to grab this and add it to your resume. And when you're doing your interviews, say, this is how I would incorporate technology. You're not just going to use an app here and an app there. Literally let them know, I'm going to incorporate technology because I've taken this class. I've learned how to do this through this organization, through this business. I just thought about that. That's so essential because we're recruiting and doing hiring now, and you need that little edge sometimes. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages that are listening to the Education Concierge podcast. You already know Mr. Townsend is now part of the family. He has to come into the kitchen and make his own plate. You are no longer a guest. Anytime you want to come back and share about what you're doing or what's upcoming, let us know. Reach out to us. We're going to put all of your information on the show notes. And thank you. Everybody have a good one. Bye.